Hello, and welcome to the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch. Or sorry, should I say Zelda Game & Watch. This is another one of the few titles that doesn't have the Legend of in it. It was released back in 1989, although there was a re-release, I believe 1998, and then there was also on the Game Boy Advance with Game & Watch Advance in 2002. I think it was called something different in America. Watch Gallery 4, I think. I think it was Game & Watch Gallery Advance in the UK, anyway. And it's quite an interesting little game. I have to say, when I originally played it, I thought it would be rubbish. I'm going to be perfectly frank. Just from an outside perspective looking in, I thought, oh, that's a dated game that's not going to be any fun. But having played it and having now beaten it, I've got to say, it is actually a lot of fun. I think clearly graphics aren't everything. So if you have a little look, we've got a whole dungeon layout here. We've managed to bypass a couple already, heading for the final boss of this dungeon. And there's a moblin, although I believe he's just called a goblin, in this. And we have Stalfos down the bottom. And then you have ghosts that attack you from behind. And then, spoiler alert, the final room contains a dragon. Now, the story of this, and it does actually have a story, is. Let's see, I've got the manual. The havoc caused by 8 fierce dragons is increasing day by day. These dragons have refused to live in peace with man and are fighting against him to rule the world. Now that your sweetheart, Princess Zelda, has been kidnapped by the evil dragons, you have resolved to destroy the dragons. That had dragons in it far too many times. But yeah, very simple story. It is a non-canon game, I believe, so don't think it fits in the timeline at all. Can't connect it to a specific link, so some games it's the same link, some games or it's a new link that's been reborn. In this one, totally unconnected in any way. So we're fighting the first of the 8 dragons here. I will have to tell you, it took me a long time to work out that tail stabbed me. So this is not my first playthrough that I've recorded here, but when I did play it for the first time, that tail stabbing me was getting rid of a lot of hearts, and I did not work it out. Oh, we've got the ghost. So you've got to kind of go and block the ghost from shooting a beam of some sort that looks like an arrow, and the same from the goblin shooting an arrow. Then you've got a Stalfos below you who will, on occasion, stab up from below, and you just got to kind of shift your way out to the side. So you start with 3 hearts, kind of as per most Zelda games, and it gets up to a maximum of 5. If you have the 5 hearts, we unlock something special, and it makes it a little bit easier. We unlock my favourite thing, the laser, or the beam for the sword. I prefer to call it a laser. It is a beam. You also get a few different items. So there's the map, which we've picked up, and that lets you see where the dragon is, and lets you plan a best route. There's the Water of Life. That heals you. Now, again, I don't really use it enough until later on, I think, in this playthrough that I recorded. Spoiler, I did the voice after playing the game. But it is very useful, so it refills your hearts. Oh, I did use it there. And gives you the beam on your sword, which makes the fights a lot easier. So it's kind of worth it, and also you have a reasonable chance of picking up a new Water of Life. The one missing is the Tomahawk. The Tomahawk is very strange. I don't think it's ever been in a Legend of Zelda game before or since. And it apparently does 3 times more damage to the dragon. So very useful. I think you just pick it up on your way through the dungeon, which may make it beneficial to go off track and not take the most direct route to the dragon, although I don't think I ever bothered to do that. And then once you're there, well, it should whittle away a bit more. Each dragon hides or hoards a piece of Triforce. So much like the original Zelda, there are 8 pieces of Triforces. 8 pieces of Triforce to be found. Doesn't tell us which Triforce. Don't know if it's courage, wisdom, or power. just Triforce, just non-specific Triforce pieces. The dragons breathe fire towards you, and you have to kind of dodge out between them, and then the tail kind of stabs in to give you a poke. Being hit by any of these just takes 1 life away. It can be kind of tricky, I found, to dodge, although I think if I played it a few more times, you could get the rhythm down and be able to complete it relatively simply without taking much damage, if any. I think you could get really good at this if you had the time. And it is quite fun, I have to say. I believe I just run through it the once in this, so keep it nice and simple. I don't want to go through and try and get a max score. There's not really 100%, I think, as far as I'm aware. It is just you beat it or you haven't beat it in this case. So I'm counting it as within my having 100%ed a Legend of Zelda game, which is my overarching goal, is to 100% all main series Legend of Zeldas, and to complete all spin-off games. So I'm not throwing down the gauntlet to 100% all spin-off games, simply because I know how many hours certain games will require, and it's too many. So at least at this point, maybe I'll change my mind in the future and go for them. I don't know. I am just kind of doubting it at the moment, because things like Hyrule Warriors, the first or the definitive edition of the first one, so the Switch re-release of the first Hyrule Warriors. How many hours is that to 100%? Even at the best of cases, like I'm sure Gerard of the Completionist did it like in hundreds of hours. I feel convinced, and with his ability to kind of get everything down to the most efficient method, I'm sure it would take me much longer. So I don't know if I'll be doing that one. I'll beat it. Don't worry, I will beat it. But 100%ing, I don't know. I've also had a lot of thinking about which version of each game, or should I do all versions, or things like this. Part of me kind of wants to do all versions. I am the sad person who does own pretty much every version of Legend of Zelda that has been released on every kind of console. There's a few exceptions, so I don't own the classic consoles. Sadly, I had the assumption they would be restocked at some point, so I didn't jump at them immediately. I just thought, I'm not being suckered into must-buy kind of thing, and then they never re-released them. I was like, they're too popular for them not to bring out more. Sadly, that did not happen, so now it's more expensive than is reasonable, in my opinion, for what is effectively a ROM of a game I already own. And then there is the Game Watch, which is different from the Game & Watch. So this is the Game & Watch. The Game Watch is a little wristwatch that was released. There is, I don't know, they're hard to find, and they're like, I would like to say 150 to 200 in a playable quantity, and then ridiculous money if you want it in decent condition, boxed and things like this. Suppose you could find a good deal here or there, and cheaper. I think I've seen it go for 120 or something before, but that was a bit ago. It may have changed. I'm not really actively looking or interested. Again, it's quite a simple LCD game. I would love one, but because it's the only game which I don't own in any version. So, for instance, I might not own the classic consoles, but I own the original Legend of Zelda, both on the NES and the the GameCube and the Wii and the Wii U and all that sort of stuff. But and Game Boy Advance and such. But I don't. So I own it and I've played it and it's fine. But I don't own the Game Watch in any capacity whatsoever, which I don't know, is a bit sad. That's probably the biggest reason I feel a bit sad about it. I would like that. I would like to be able to play them all at least once. So yeah, as I say, my kind of goal is to go through all of them. So maybe one day I'll save up and pick it up. I've lost complete track. I think I was going to say which version I was playing. So the version of each game that I play, I kind of was thinking back and forth to myself, And as you kind of may have already seen, I'm just going for what I consider to be the definitive version, the best version. And this may include a fan patch and emulate it, therefore. I think if that's better, if that's the best version that exists, that's the version I will play. I mean, I'm more than comfortable. I own all these games. There's no nefarious deeds going on in playing them. They're all, legitimately mine and backed up and so forth. So that's not a concern in my mind. The only concern is playing the best version. And you get things like the Redux version of quite a few of them, so I'll go for the Redux version of A Link to the Past, which features a few tweaks. I'm 50-50 on the hair for A Link to the Past. If you played A Link to the Past, you'll know what I mean. But when it comes to other ones like Zelda 2, that was definitely better. And The Legend of Zelda, I would say, other than the HD pack, I think that included. I might not have. Oh, I'd have to double check. Did I patch it? I can't remember. I think maybe I didn't. But yeah, I think the original Legend of Zelda is fine as is, except for the HD patch was really nice and improved it and made it fun to play again, because I have completed these games. Like I know them to death. Maybe not Zelda 2, but I know most of them to death. I've played them. I've completed them a few times over, usually on different systems. So getting to experience a version where they've tweaked things that might have annoyed me at the time is definitely the way I'm going to go with it. So looking kind of back, I kind of did the original Legend of Zelda and used the HD pack for Second Quest. Even though it was my first time playing Second Quest, but I didn't feel bad about that one. Like I kind of want to do the first time original usually, but that one's, it's just a different layout. It's not really super different, and it just changes kind of the look of the thing. It doesn't actually mechanically change anything. So I'm more than happy of doing that way, and in fact, very glad to have done that way. I think it looks amazing, and if I ever play again, will be that version that I'll probably want to play. Not necessarily, definitely will play, but especially if on PC, that'll be the one. Then Zelda 2, the Redux version. So I've beaten it properly before. I find that game a bit difficult. I think my biggest problem with it is just I'm not very good at it. So I think with a bit more practice with it, I could get better, because it is a decent game. Like, it's got a lot to it. It's got exploration. I don't think the things are as hard to find as some people say. Some of them are, but it's not as massive a map. You just have to stand on the right tile, and you kind of get the idea that's what the game is after. I think the original Legend of Zelda was a bit harder, quite honestly, like bombing lots of different walls and bushes, and hoping you have bombed the right spot kind of deal. I think that's much more difficult than just walking on a specific square that, is the only patch of forest or the only patch of grass. I think the one that was the most difficult to find was the secret town, the secret village. Oh, the name is escaping me at the moment. I want to say it's Ruto, but is it Ruto? I don't know. I'd have to double check. I apologise if I'm wrong. I can't remember. I just can't remember. But that one was a bit of a arse to find. But other than that, I think it is a good game. It's difficult. It's a tricky game. I think I got very salty at the end of the Ocean Temple, as you might have noticed. I didn't really work it out myself, but I was like, oh my word, this took a long time. But I think also part of the problem was I forced myself to play through it in one sitting. I think if I just let myself, use a save state, go sit down, come back, I probably would have had a better experience, but I kind of wanted to get it fully recorded. So I think that dented my my fun, especially in the Ocean Temple. Also, I feel a little bad how I ended it. So I talked about save scumming, which is just basically having saved just, a little bit earlier than the encounter and running in again, so you don't have to start from the beginning if you lose all your lives. And, while I definitely did that, oh my word, did I do that. So the final boss, and spoilers if you've not seen it, the final boss, Dark Link, I only died to him once. And so the first time I went in, I kind of was trying to work out what to do. but it was ridiculous o'clock. I think it was actually, I'm going to be honest, like 7 a.m. when I hadn't gone to bed. That was how I was feeling. So I was like, okay. And I knew the little cheat where you stand in the corner and you kneel, you crouch down and you just stab. And I did that and I beat him the second time with that. And I thought, and I kind of recorded my ending and then I was like, no, I hate that. I absolutely despised how I did that. So I just went back, used my save state just before the Thunderbird, the boss just before Dark Link, and then we fought that, as I hadn't saved just before Dark Link for some reason. Saved again, and then expecting to be, going at it really difficult and expecting not to win, actually beat Dark Link first time in my genuine first proper attempt kind of deal. And I was quite proud of that, and I feel I didn't mention it enough. I want to brag a little. Moving on, going for A Link to the Past, I'm going to definitely do the Redux version of that. Just little things, little control tweaks and things, and especially one of the temples, it changes a bit to match the GBA version. I think the GBA version is the better version in general, except for the sound quality. Game Boy Advance, kind of, the audio on that is not terrific. So for that reason, I'll be going with the SNES, the SNES version, but with a Redux, which will add and take away a few things. Kind of looking at my Redux patch, I have an older one. I might stick with my older one rather than the current one because I think it changes just a few too many things that I wanted to change. And the older one just kind of did the general tweaks. Then after that one, I will go for Link's Awakening. So obviously I'm going in release order here. Oh, I mean, I've missed out Game & Watch doing that one as well. Hang on. I have a little booklet I wrote down all the games in order so that I didn't forget which one would be next. So going for A Link to the Past, I've been umming and ahhing about that one. This is where I think it gets tricky on which one to play. So I think the definitive one is clearly the Switch release, right? That is obviously, without a doubt, the definitive release of Link's Awakening. But is it so different that it's a new game? That is my question. That is my thought process. Like, it is different. It does change quite a bit, and then it feels different. It feels like a remake. Like, it is a remake kind of deal. So things like Ocarina of Time 3D, that feels more like what's the word? Not remake. Remaster, that's the word. So that's more of a remaster. So it's a remastered game. Therefore, in my mind, that's okay as a same version and to categorize it and pick the best one that I choose. But with Link's Awakening, I feel like because it's been remade, it feels like it's a different game in my soul. So I might be going with the DX version and save the Switch version for later when that gets released in my timeline of playthrough. I'm undecided. You will find out when I do, which is when I start recording and uploading. After that, we will be straight on to Ocarina of Time, which I think I'm leaning towards an HD mod of the original, so an HD patch, or mod. No, it is a mod, I suppose. So texture pack to go with an emulation version. That's where I'm leaning towards. We'll see. I might do the actual 3DS version. Iffy on that one still. So again, you'll find out that one then. The Majora's Mask, I'm 100% doing the HD mod pack. If I do the 3DS version, so there is a slight thing there. It will be a fan patched version that changes a few things. I'll be honest, the swimming change to the Zora in that game kind of annoyed me. So that left me preferring the original. I think there's got a lot of good tweaks to it. It does have a lot of good tweaks to it, and if you're new and you've never played Majora's Mask, I would recommend the 3DS version with the fan patch. I can't remember the fan patch's name, but I think if you look up Nirel, I'll try and link it in the comments. There's a good video on it and what changes it makes, what it tweaks and fixes, because there's a few problems, and there's one of the bosses that kind of becomes really tedious for no particular reason. Yeah. So I personally, and especially for nostalgia reasons, I lean towards the original game and then just with an HD texture pack. Then we have Oracle of Ages and Seasons. There's only one version of each of those, so those will be the versions I play. That's going to be that's going to be a fun one to 100%. That's at least so 2 playthroughs of each minimum, and a lot of RNG to go through. I have 100%ed before. I have done it. I have pushed myself through that. Having to do it again, that's going to be interesting. After that, we've got the Four Swords. So A Link to the Past got re-released on the Game Boy Advance, which is cool, and it's a great re-release. If you have the Game Boy Advance and you want to play A Link to the Past, you don't have a SNES, you don't have maybe a Switch or a Nintendo Online or whatever, playing the Game Boy Advance version is a really good version to play. Again, like I said earlier, it's just the sounds, but you don't really notice with the Game Boy Advance speaker. That's, absolutely fine. It's just when kind of either emulating or comparing directly through a recording, the SNES definitely has the upper hand on quality of sound by far. But yeah, it came with the Four Swords as part of the game. And it comes with an extra dungeon. So I was debating what to do there. I've decided that for back in the Link to the Past, I'm just going to play Link to the Past as is with the Redux version. And then Four Swords, I will beat that with some friends. Excuse me. And once I've beaten that, then I will do that additional temple that was put in to A Link to the Past as an ending to the Four Swords. To me, that kind of fits the best. We'll see if that works out for the best. It might leave me wanting to do something different, but I think that in my mind is the best way to do it. Is just to do Four Swords and then that additional temple. I could do Four Swords on my own with the 3DS re-release, but it's more fun with friends. Like some of these games, like I'll get to it later, but there's Triforce Heroes is like one of those games where people review it based on single player, and single player is rubbish. It is all about playing with your friends. That is where it is fun and good. Same with Four Swords. That's the fun, so I'll play that with friends. After that, simple Wind Waker HD. Best version of Wind Waker. I'm happy with that one. Kind of have a lot of nostalgia for the original, for the GameCube. That was wonderful. I spent so long playing. There was such a long time where I owned a GameCube and literally only owned Wind Waker. That was it. That was the only game I owned for the GameCube and played it very much to death. Absolutely love it, but I will concede the HD re-release is the better version, so that's the one. Twilight Princess HD, same, I'll go with Twilight Princess HD. I can't remember much of the differences, if I'm honest. I kind of have a little blank spot in my mind of playing that one. I don't really know why. I remember I played it on the Wii, so I've got like the GameCube, the Wii, and the Wii U. So the GameCube and the Wii are the two original ones, and then the Wii U is the HD version. And I have perfect memory of the GameCube and the Wii. Absolutely very little of the Wii U. I don't know why. I must have just blitzed through it in one crazy night. Then after that, we've got the handheld, so Phantom Hourglass, Spintle Tracks. Only one version of each of those, so that'll be the versions. And then we have Skyward Sword. So Skyward Sword got re-released on the Switch, so I'll definitely go with that version, maybe? So I have a little bit of a gripe with the controls on the Switch version. So a lot of people really didn't like the controls on the Wii. I genuinely believe, maybe I'm not 100% right, but I genuinely believe people who have such gripes didn't have the IR bar on or under their TV. Because while you do not need it to play Skyward Sword in the Wii, it does adjust the Wiimote and recenter it actively while you're playing. So I rarely had a problem. Like, honestly, I think it was pretty good to play. I didn't understand people's concerns. Playing the Switch version, I constantly have to reset that thing. Like, honestly, it bugs me. I haven't really had a proper go with the controller yet. So I think I had a real I kind of gave up on the controller when the camera was really janky to move around. You have to hold, is it L to move the camera, and it didn't feel right. And then I was watching beat 'em ups not that long ago actually, and it was nice to see he had the exact same opinions as me on it, but he had worked through and decided that just to ignore the camera, accept like the standard camera and use Z targeting to change direction and just save that for special occasions, and it worked really well. So I might go back and try it there. Maybe I'll play. So I'm leaning toward. I'm very much probably going to do the Switch version because it definitely looks nicer. The AI upscaling does help, I think, but I do prefer, at the moment, at this time of talking, I do prefer the Wii version for controls. After that, A Link Between the Worlds. Oh, amazing game. Love that one. But there's only one version. Then Triforce Heroes. Did I miss Four Swords Adventures on my list? I did. So Four Swords Adventures come after Wind Waker. Again, try and do that with friends. I'm not really sure. So I can definitely do Four Swords with friends, I think. Four Swords Adventures. I'll have to look up how to sort that out. Triforce Heroes, I should definitely be able to do that with friends, so that would be brilliant. Again, as I said before when I was talking, it's one of those games that's it's really good with friends, not so good without them. So definitely, if you get it, try and make sure you've got someone to play with or play online. I don't know how active the online community is at the moment, so you'll have to find out if you do pick it up. And with the eShop shutting down, I don't know if that's going to affect anything for better or worse in terms of numbers, but we'll see. Then following that is Breath of the Wild. So we got Breath of the Wild come out. I seem to have ended my list here, but there's another game. So there's another 2 games that are not on the list. So Breath of the Wild is, a mammoth task to be undertaken. I have 100%ed it once. And, oh no. Now I am unsure. Do I consider Master Mode? Because that Trial of the Sword brought me to tears in Master Mode. Like, that was tough. That was tough, man. So, yeah, I probably will do Master Mode just because I will feel I have to. And it would, it would feel incomplete if I didn't. But from feelings in my soul kind of point of view, that scares me. That scares me a lot. So, well, we'll get there when we get there. And then, other than that, we've got the side games that I've missed quite a few of them out. So I think this must have been just main series that I wrote down. So there's a lot of spin-offs that I do want to go through. So there's the Satellite View, I can't remember what it's called, something Satellite, begins with a B. There's 2 Legend of Zelda games that were for that. It's Cadescence of Hyrule, or Cadescent, sorry. However you pronounce it. Just try, I'll give up now. That is a game that will probably torture me because I have 0 beta rhythm. 0. I have tried it, I've played it. I am not a person with anything called rhythm within me. Then there's Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. That's an interesting one. That's an odd one to play. Then you've got Hyrule Warriors, the definitive edition, obviously, of that one. And then Age of Calamity, so Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Go with those 2. Definitely will complete them. 100%ing, probably not. Excuse me. Then we've got Link's Crossbow Training. I will go through that. That's going to be interesting. I don't know how I'm going to record that. Going to have to work that one out. Then we've got the CDI games. I'll be doing those ones. I've not actually played them. I've seen them. I've watched Let's Plays of them. I've seen people defend them. I have never actually touched them myself. So that'll be an interesting playthrough, I think. And we could talk about why they exist when I play them. This Pictocross is an interesting game as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'll just be another video like this, I think, where I just have a quick playthrough of it. You've got Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love and Tingle's Balloon Fight DS. Those were 2 Japanese-only games. I don't know if there's any English patches for them. Hoping there is. That's going to be interesting. And there's a Too Much Tingle pack. Now, I don't think you can complete the Too Much Tingle pack. I think it's just a bunch of little fun games, so I'll give that a little try out. There is Vermin that came with the most recent Game & Watch, which doesn't actually have this Game & Watch game in it, sadly. So it has a brand new game. It's called Vermin. And again, I'll just have a little play. Maybe I'll stick a bunch of them together for that. We have this, the Game & Watch, which we've done. And I think that's all of them. So I do plan to at least play all of them. I have no idea what kind of madness I might be letting myself in for here. But my goal is to go through the whole of Legend of Zelda, 100%ing main series, and then just completing side games. So yeah, that's the plan. We'll see how it works out. Things might change. I'm making no promises on exactly what games I'm going to play. I'm just or what version I'll play. Part of me wants to go through and at least complete all the versions I own, because there's quite a few where I've owned the Virtual Console version and haven't played it. But I've beaten the game multiple times. I think Ocarina of Time, I own that in the Wii Virtual Console. I don't think I've ever actually beaten it there, even though I've beaten it probably 1,000 times on the N64 and with Master Quest and then on the 3DS, that kind of thing. So part of me wants to do that, but I think that's too big a task. So I'm just going to keep it simple, keep it easy, just go through the beating. Anyway, while I've been rambling, I've managed to find my way to the last room of the dungeon. So you can see I think I've done reasonably well. I only died once, so did take a dampener on the points. I was a little bit annoyed about that one. I think it was an unnecessary death, but I didn't want to record it again. So we just need to make it through these guys. So you get the Stalfos. I lost, sadly, very quickly my sword beam there. So I'm going to have to go in close and give the goblin a good stabbing in the face. Yeah, and then we'll face the final dragon. Now, we also have Princess Zelda has appeared up the top. I can't remember when she appeared. Oh, I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, she's not there at the very beginning when you first start, and then does appear eventually as you go on through. And once you beat the dragon, you get to free her. So hopefully I only got 14 points of health to take off this guy. You kind of take a fair whack with each hit. And there we go. Off to fight the dragon. I have a jar of life. I should be okay. We'll see if I'm the... Yep, I was about to say, we'll see if the kind of person that just takes it immediately. Apparently I am. And hopefully I've gotten really good at this dodging. I can't really remember how I did. But yeah, that tail, man. I think I got there. I worked out eventually how to dodge and move, and I had to stand to the side a bit longer than I thought. I was purely focused on the fire originally. So, I mean, I have to say, looking at the animations and things for a little simple LCD game that really you don't think of as having much, it's got really cool it feels interesting. It's got enough animation that feels interesting. They did a really good job of making this into a fun device. And makes me kind of interested in trying out the other Game & Watch games. So I have seen people argue and defend them, and other people say, when someone says they're bad, it's like, you haven't played them. And I think they've got a point. It's amazing. It's great fun. There we are. Zelda released from the dungeon. And now we start again. So sadly, not much of a cinematic ending. It just kind of goes into the other game. I think I must have hit the button too quick. This was... so we managed to rack up a total of 2,220 points. Hopefully not too bad. I don't know. I'm not a master of this game. I've not played it a whole bunch, but great fun and would recommend. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time for A Link to the Past. I'm very much looking forward to that game. That is still considered one of the best Legend of Zelda games of all time. And it's no wonder, because it's amazing, although personally I'm biased, and I think they're all the best Legend of Zelda games of all time, pretty much. Righto, thanks for watching, and I will speak to you then. Bye.